Very pleased to be meeting you at this year Hi-Fi show.
Thank you very much. Good to meet you.
Many audiophiles have noticed that you have brought along a spectacular loudspeaker system. Could you give us a quick intro?
I will. Thank you very much, Raymond, for inviting me and asking me. Yes, Siltech has produced a wonderful loudspeaker. We have a quite big research team, and they like to put the work on make serious things. We think there are a lot of things going wrong in loudspeakers. Because of that, we want to prove that we can do a better job. And we do that by exploiting all the techniques that are available and put that in a new format. And one of these spin-offs is this big loudspeaker. So the loudspeaker that you see here, so that loudspeaker here is made out of 3 boxes, as you can see. First of all, we separate the energy from the bass, the mid-range, and all the mid-range and high frequencies. And we do that by isolating them with real rubies. The rubies are made in Japan. They are 10 millimeter. They are after diamond, the hardest material. So having a pinpoint into the cup of a ruby disc isolates the energy from one cabinet to another. The other thing is that all the cabinets are adjustable to the right sitting position. That's very important if you want to have the best image of sound. Then if you knock on it, it's like concrete, and that is because we use a sandwich layer. If you use aluminum only, that's ringing, gives a ringing sound. As you notice, there's no ringing whatsoever. That's because we use a sandwich. The sandwich is made of aluminum, acrylic, and aluminum again. And this compound material has very little resonance and absorbs energy too.
I see.
So that's quite ideal for the cabinet size. Then you see in total 12 drivers. And why 12 drivers? We have 5 groups. 5 groups, every group has 2 octaves. That's kind of ideal in mechanical terms. So if a driver can be optimized for only 2 octaves, then it has an easy job. And then the next one is optimized again here for another 2 octaves. And this one again for 2 octaves. This one also for 2 octaves, and this one too. So you split it like if you see a grand piano. You see the 10 octaves on the grand piano. You see every 2 octaves, every time the key is repeating, that's an octave. And if you do it in sections of 2, every driver can be made ideal. So you can optimize the drivers for that purpose.
Yeah.
Then there's another big problem with loudspeakers. Big loudspeakers are big problems in rooms. Every maker knows that. And they always blame the acoustics of the room. They say, yes, this is a boomy room. This is a room that sucks out the energy of the bass. All these things are not really true. It has to do with our brain. Our brain automatically adjusts to the room that we are in. If we walk together outside this room, the acoustics change.
Yeah.
But I still recognize your voice.
Yeah.
And you recognize mine. If we go to a chamber where there's a lot of echo, we still hear each other's voice accurately.
Yeah.
If we walk outside where there's no reflections and it's very dry sounding, still you don't say suddenly to me, oh, you're not Edwin anymore.
Yeah.
So our brain automatically switches to the environment, and that's a very important thing to know, to realize. So we thought, why are big speakers always trouble? But musical instruments, who also go very deep, the lowest key on a piano is 27 Hertz, and on an organ even lower, but grand pianos in the room don't give a problem with the bass. They don't have problems, they don't interact with the standing waves. And we looked into grand piano design. And the grand piano has a big soundboard, and it has sides about this high. And they are unequal. And because of this thing that they found 200 years ago, by experiment, we copied that in a loudspeaker. We call that an H-frame. So that means that we have 2 sides and the front, and the rear is open. By putting 2 woofers in the side and 2 woofers in front, we get a kind of conical behavior of the bass. The bass goes more to the front than to the rear, and you get a perfect balanced bass in any room. If it's a small room or a big room, it always gives a very dry, clean sounding, deep bass. Then we have one more thing, we want to have very low distortion. If you make a loudspeaker which has very low distortion all over the range, every type of instrument will sound better. So a violin is mainly high frequencies, but it starts already at about 150 Hertz. So that's quite low. If you have a brass instrument, the first wave coming out of it, when you're blowing in it, you know, it makes a kind of, it needs some sound pressure before it starts oscillating. It's a Helmholtz resonator, actually, every tube instrument. And the first wave is very low frequencies, that's about 20 Hertz. Not many people realize that. So to mimic a trumpet and a trombone and other brass, tuba-like sounds, you need a wide frequency range with low distortion, and it should be very fast. It should start fast and stop fast. Yeah. To make it start and stop fast, we came with a new concept that is called passive active. So like any loudspeaker, you need your power amplifier, you connect it with your speaker cables. Inside we have a filter, like any speaker, but the filter is not directly loaded with the drivers.
Okay.
Because the property of the drivers changes during music. That's a big problem of normal passive loudspeakers. Yeah. And then we have a kind of buffer amplifier isolating the load of the filter from the driver itself. And I very often compare this with power steering in a car. If you steer your car in the old days, it was very heavy. Now you still do the same. You can do it very precisely. You steer yourself from left to right or whatever you have to do. But the power steering makes it lighter. And that's what we do in an electronic way with the drivers. So it's still a kind of passive loudspeaker with assistance, but no DSP, because in our mind DSP always spoils the sound, because it does a couple of tricks. They use that to get rid of resonances. But I give you an example. A resonance depends on the volume. So if you're playing, so if you're playing loud, normally resonances in a cabinet will tend to move a little bit up. So if there was a resonance at 600 Hertz, at certain sound levels it will be 605 Hertz. And at low levels it might be lower. So if you have a DSP taking out only one frequency, you absorb a little bit of energy at 600 Hertz.
I see.
If you play loud, it goes absolutely the wrong way. It sucks out the frequency you need, and it doesn't cancel the one it should cancel. So it's totally natural. Everything is natural, no compensation, no effect whatsoever. And that is very beneficial to the sound. And as you heard before, if you have this timpani, which you hammer on the timpani, and then with your elbow you stop it very quickly. Normal loudspeakers don't do that. Normal woofers and subwoofers are even worse. If they move, they always have to go all the way back, and they swing a couple of times before they stop. Yes, they give the low frequency, but they sound boomy because they keep oscillating and they react to the room resonance. And with this system, it stops wherever it has to stop. Then every type of music, classic or pop or whatever you play, starts sounding much more natural. So it's a technical reason why it is a better loudspeaker.
Also, the launch of the new addition to the Crown series has delighted many audiophiles too. With its amazing pricing, would you mind telling us more about that?
Yes, the new Ruby Crown is a special series. We have the Legend series, which is a very successful range of Siltech. We call the mid-range. And we have the top series above that, the Royal Crown series. Royal Crown series always is made of monocrystal silver. Then we can get the highest quality of performance. It's also more expensive than the silver gold, despite the gold in there. It's still more expensive. And a lot of audiophiles want to have this monocrystal sound. So we made a model in between, actually on the bottom of the range of the Royal Crown, called the Ruby Crown. And of course, we give it as a kind of present almost. You know, we lowered our margin on it to make audiophiles happy that they can start it. And we know that a lot of audiophiles will start with that cable and maybe later even still buy the more expensive model. But it's a fantastic start for the sound of monocrystal silver, because monocrystal silver, it's very pure, it has very low distortion, it's very romantic sounding and at the same time extremely detailed.
Yeah. And many thanks for participating in the interview. Wish you have a highly successful and enjoyable time at the show. Okay,
Thank you very
Edwin.
much.
Thank you.